Have you ever noticed that the richest people you know don't just have money? They have a way of thinking, a way of seeing the world that sets them apart. You see, wealth begins long before the first dollar lands in your bank account. It begins in the mind, in the choices you make, in the habits you embrace, and in the vision you allow yourself to see. Most people chase money like a shadow, hoping it will bring them freedom, when in reality, freedom comes from thinking and acting rich before the riches arrive. Imagine for a moment that every decision you make today, every thought you entertain, and every action you take is either building your empire or eroding it. You don't need luck, you don't need a windfall, and you certainly don't need a secret that no one else knows. What you need is a mindset, a millionaire mindset that sees opportunity where others see obstacles, that focuses on solutions when others focus on problems, and that acts today as if the wealth you desire already belongs to you. Because here's the truth. Your bank account will follow the patterns of your mind. The way you think about money, success, and possibility is the blueprint for your future fortune. If you wait to feel rich before you act rich, you may wait forever. But if you begin to think, decide, and live as though wealth is inevitable, you set in motion forces that can transform your life. Today, I want to share the secrets not just of earning money, but of thinking and acting rich in a way that makes wealth inevitable. If you listen closely and apply these principles with consistency, you will discover that money is not just a reward, it's a reflection of the person you have become. And when your mind is rich, your life will follow. When it comes to building wealth, the first decision is not about where to put your money, but about who you decide to become. The truth is, clarity of identity always comes before clarity of wealth. If you don't know who you're aiming to be, then no matter how much money you make, it will slip through your fingers because you won't have the discipline or the vision to hold on to it. I learned long ago that the most important project you will ever work on is not your business, not your job, not your investments. It's yourself. Wealth doesn't begin with numbers on a page. It begins with the picture you carry of yourself in your mind. The question is, who are you becoming? If your current habits, choices, and routines continue for the next 5, 10, 20 years, what will you look like? Will you have a strong financial house built on discipline and vision, or will you find yourself in the same place, maybe even worse? That's why it's critical to stop and make a decision today. Decide who you will become. Decide the kind of person who deserves wealth, who manages it wisely, who invests it with patience, and who uses it to create not only comfort, but impact. I remember when I was just starting out, working hard but never really getting ahead. My mentor asked me a question that startled me. Who do you want to be in 10 years? I didn't have an answer. And that's when it hit me. I had been drifting. I had been working, yes, but without a vision of my future self. Without an identity strong enough to guide my decisions. From that day, I began to build a picture in my mind of the man I wanted to become, not only financially secure, but disciplined, generous, and free. And I aligned my actions with that picture. Every choice became simpler because it was either moving me closer to that vision or further away. That's why I tell people to take just 10 minutes every morning and visualize your ideal financial life. Don't just think numbers, see the details. What kind of home do you live in? What kind of freedom do you have? How do you dress? How do you walk? How do you carry yourself when you're in control of your money instead of money controlling you? Picture yourself writing checks for investments, not debts. Imagine the peace of mind of knowing you have reserves, you have growth, you have security. When you do this consistently, something begins to shift. your subconscious begins to guide your decisions. Suddenly, you're not asking, can I afford this? But instead, does this align with who I'm becoming? Every wealthy person I've ever met made this shift. They didn't stumble into riches by accident. They built an identity first, then let that identity dictate their actions. And that's what I'm asking you to do today. Stop drifting. Stop waiting for luck. Stop hoping it will just work out. Decide today, in detail, who you will become, because once that's clear, wealth will have no choice but to follow. If there is one discipline that separates those who stay stuck from those who rise to wealth, it is the discipline of constant education. Money has a way of flowing toward those who know how it works, and it quietly slips away from those who don't. Knowledge compounds just like capital does, but here's the catch. Ignorance compounds too. If you stay ignorant about how money works, your losses will grow in the same way your wealth could have. That's why I say that the true wealth builder is always a student first. When I was younger, I thought hard work was enough. I thought if I worked long hours and kept myself busy, one day success would just show up. But I soon learned that effort without knowledge is like running fast in the wrong direction. You get nowhere, just more tired. My mentor reminded me, if you want things to change, you have to change. If you want things to get better, you have to get better. That's when I began to read every book I could find on money, business, and human behavior. I listened to tapes, I went to seminars, I asked questions of people smarter than me, and slowly, my thinking changed, and with it, my results. The strategy is simple. Dedicate time every single day to financial literacy and skill development. Treat learning about money as seriously as you treat earning it. Most people will spend 8 hours at work, but not even 20 minutes learning how to make their money work for them. That's the mistake. Because what you don't know about taxes, about investing, about business opportunities, about how money flows, what you don't know can cost you everything. But what you do know can make you free. So, make it practical. Choose to read at least 15 to 30 minutes every day. Fill your mind with books written by people who have walked the path of wealth. Attend seminars where ideas are exchanged and success habits are taught. Don't dismiss the cost of a course or a workshop. Think of it as an investment. I once paid to attend a seminar that, at the time, felt expensive. But the one idea I gained there earned me back hundreds of times that investment over the years. One idea can change everything, but only if you place yourself where those ideas live. And here's something important. Education doesn't end when you leave school. Formal education can make you a living, but self-education can make you a fortune. That means you cannot afford to stop learning once you have a job, once you've started a business, or once you've made your first million. The world is changing. Markets are shifting. New opportunities are emerging. And only those who keep growing stay ahead. So, don't let a single day pass without adding something new to your understanding of wealth, business, or personal growth. Think of it as watering the tree of your financial life. You may not see the difference in a day or a week, but over years, that knowledge compounds into wisdom, and wisdom compounds into wealth. The bottom line is this: money comes to those who know what to do with it. And if you dedicate yourself to constant education, you'll never be among those left behind. Because knowledge is the seed, and wealth is the harvest. One of the greatest secrets to building wealth is learning how to remove willpower from the equation. Discipline is powerful, but discipline applied once and turned into a habit is far stronger. And when that habit is backed by systems that work automatically, it becomes a force that builds wealth whether you're paying attention or not. That's the key: automation. It's about setting up your financial life so that the important things happen whether you feel motivated or not. When I first began saving money, I did it manually. At the end of the month, I would try to set aside what was left. And often, you can guess what happened. There was nothing left. I had spent too freely, thinking I would catch up next month. But there's never a next month when you're relying on discipline alone. Life has a way of creating excuses. A dinner here, a purchase there, an emergency, you convince yourself, is urgent but really isn't. One day I realized I needed to flip the process. Don't save what's left after spending. Spend what's left after saving. That meant paying myself first. And the easiest way to do that was to automate the process. The strategy is simple. Create systems that take care of saving, investing, and wealth accumulation without requiring your constant attention. The truth is, wealth isn't built in a day, it's built daily. And daily actions require consistency. Automation ensures consistency. Think of it like planting seeds. You don't need to run out every morning to remind the seed to grow. It grows because the system of nature is already in place. In the same way, automated transfers to your savings account, investments, or retirement fund allow your money to grow without you having to constantly remember or resist temptation. Here's how you make it practical. Set up a recurring transfer from your checking account into an investment account the moment your paycheck arrives. Not after you've had time to spend it, but immediately. If your employer offers a retirement plan, automate your contributions. You'll barely notice the difference in your paycheck, but over years, you'll certainly notice the difference in your wealth. Automate bill payments too, because avoiding late fees and penalties is part of keeping more of what you earn. And don't stop there. Track your spending with apps or software that categorize expenses automatically. The less mental energy you waste on worrying about where your money went, the more energy you'll have to focus on how to grow it. I remember meeting a young man who earned a modest salary but seemed always at peace financially. He wasn't wealthy yet, but he was never stressed. I asked him what his secret was. He told me, "I never touch my savings. I don't even see it. The moment I get paid, a portion goes straight into investments. I live on the rest." That's the wisdom of automation. It bypasses emotion and builds a structure around your financial life. Wealth isn't about heroic efforts. It's about steady, disciplined actions compounded over time. And the beauty of automation is that you only need discipline once when you set up the system. After that, the system carries the load. Imagine a future where your investments, savings, and retirement accounts have been quietly growing for years because you made one decision today to automate. That is the power of creating wealth that runs on autopilot. The truth is simple. Don't rely on memory, willpower, or good intentions. Build a system once. Let it run forever. And watch it create freedom for you while you focus on living your life. Because the day you automate your wealth is the day you take emotion out of the process and put certainty in its place. One of the greatest temptations when money begins to flow in is to spend it. After all, you've worked hard, you've sacrificed, and now the rewards are finally showing up. The problem is, that's exactly where most people lose the game of wealth. They consume the fruits before planting more seeds. Real wealth doesn't grow because of one harvest. It grows because of reinvestment. Every time you reinvest, you are multiplying the very tree that produces fruit. Every time you consume too early, you're cutting branches that could have borne fruit for decades. When I began to see success in business, I faced this very temptation. I remember cashing my first significant check and immediately dreaming of new suits, a better car, and maybe even a bigger house. But I had a mentor who asked me a question that changed my life. He said, "Do you want to look rich or do you want to be rich?" That question stung because I realized one path was about appearances, the other about reality. Looking rich might impress people for a moment, but being rich creates freedom for a lifetime. And the way you move from income to wealth is by reinvesting, not consuming. The philosophy is simple. Wealth compounds when reinvested, but spending dilutes it. Every dollar you spend today on something that depreciates is a dollar that could have multiplied tenfold if reinvested. Think about it. If you earn a profit from your business or an investment, and you put half or more back into growth-producing assets, you are fueling the engine of compounding. If you take that same profit and spend it on a luxury item, the cycle ends with you and the growth stops. The strategy then is clear. Direct profits back into assets that create more profits. That might mean reinvesting into your business to expand operations, hiring better people, or upgrading systems. It might mean putting more into stocks, real estate, or other long-term investments. The point is to resist the urge of immediate gratification and choose multiplication instead. That's why I often tell people to reinvest at least 50 to 70% of their profits before they allow lifestyle upgrades. It's not about denying yourself forever. It's about delaying until your assets are strong enough to fund luxuries without weakening your foundation. I remember a young entrepreneur who asked me, "When should I reward myself?" My answer was simple. Reward yourself when your assets can pay for the reward, not when your profits can. There's a difference. Profits are temporary. Assets are enduring. If you buy a car with profits, you'll need to keep producing profits to sustain it. If you buy a car with the income generated from your investments, that car is truly earned because it doesn't deplete your wealth. It simply uses the fruits of reinvested seeds. The practical steps are straightforward, but they require discipline. Every time you receive profits, whether from a paycheck, a side hustle, or a business venture, split them deliberately. Allocate the majority, 50 to 70%, toward reinvestment. Put it into your investment accounts. Use it to expand your business or acquire new income-producing assets. The remainder can be used for lifestyle or enjoyment. By setting this rule for yourself early, you build a habit that naturally compounds into wealth. The truth is, consumption ends with you, but reinvestment lives beyond you. Reinvesting doesn't just create wealth for today, it creates wealth for the future, for your family, and for the opportunities you don't even see yet. It allows you to shift from survival to security, from security to freedom, and from freedom to legacy. So the next time money comes in, don't ask, "What can I buy?" Ask instead, "What can I build?" Because the person who consumes profits buys moments, but the one who reinvests profits buys freedom. If you want more money, don't chase the money, chase becoming more valuable. Money is not the starting point, it's the byproduct. It always follows value. If you want to earn more, then the real question is, how can I bring more value to the marketplace? How can I solve bigger problems? The marketplace does not respond to need, it responds to value. You can need money desperately, but that doesn't guarantee you'll earn it. The secret is to flip the focus. Instead of thinking about what you want, think about what you can give. When I was younger, I thought the way to get ahead was simply to work harder. If I put in more hours, surely the rewards would come. But soon I realized something painful. I was being paid the same as the person standing next to me, no matter how hard I worked, because the value of the role was fixed. That's when a mentor pointed out something I never forgot. He said, "Don't work harder on your job than you do on yourself. If you become more valuable, the marketplace will reward you accordingly." That single idea reshaped my entire financial philosophy. Think about it. If you're paid $20 an hour, it's not really your time being purchased. It's the value of what you can produce in that time. If you want to make $200 an hour, the question isn't how to squeeze in 10 times more hours. The question is how to become 10 times more valuable. That's why a doctor, a top engineer, or a skilled entrepreneur earns far more than average. They've invested years building skills that solve critical problems, and the marketplace rewards them in proportion to the value they provide. So the strategy is simple but powerful. Focus relentlessly on increasing your value. That means developing new skills, gaining deeper knowledge, and solving bigger problems than you're currently solving. Instead of asking for a raise, ask yourself what skill would make you indispensable. Instead of wishing your business would earn more, ask yourself how it could solve a more significant problem for more people. Money will always follow the trail of value. One of the best commitments you can make to yourself is to learn at least one high-value skill every year. Think about the compounding effect. If you pick up one new skill every year for the next decade, you'll be 10 times as valuable as you are today. And skills are like tools in a toolbox. The more you have, the more problems you can solve, and the more the world will pay you. It might be communication, leadership, marketing, investing, or negotiation. The specific skill doesn't matter as much as your consistent dedication to growth. Let me give you a simple example. A young man I once met worked in sales. At first, he struggled just to get by. But instead of complaining about the competition, he invested time in learning psychology and persuasion. Within a year, his closing rate doubled. Within 2 years, he was among the top earners in his company. What changed? Not the marketplace, it was him. He increased his value, and the money followed. The practical steps are straightforward but life-changing. Each year, commit to learning a new high-value skill. Set aside a portion of your day, even if it's just 30 minutes, to read, study, or practice. And always measure your learning not just in knowledge, but in application. Ask yourself daily, what problem did I solve today? What value did I bring? If you focus on problem solved instead of hours worked, you'll find that your income reflects the difference. The great paradox is this: if you chase money, it often runs away. But if you chase value, money finds you. Because the world is never short of people who want to get paid, but it is always in desperate need of people who can truly solve problems. If you want wealth, don't focus on the money, focus on becoming the person worth more. The money will take care of itself. If there's one thing that builds wealth more than talent, more than luck, more than even opportunity, it's repetition. Wealth isn't an overnight event. It's the daily disciplines practiced over and over again until they compound into something extraordinary. Most people underestimate the power of small, consistent action. They think it has to be some grand breakthrough, some lucky deal, some big moment of opportunity that makes them rich. But the truth is, wealth is the byproduct of repetition. It's the grocery store clerk who puts away $10 every week for 20 years. It's the entrepreneur who reinvests profits month after month instead of spending them. It's the investor who sticks with the plan through good years and bad and lets time do the heavy lifting. I've met people who start strong, full of enthusiasm, full of motivation. They'll say, "This year I'm going to save. This year I'll invest." They do it for a week, maybe a month, then something distracts them, they stop. And stopping is what kills momentum. Starting is easy. Staying consistent is rare. But the ones who make it, the ones who build wealth, they master the boring part. They understand that success comes from doing the right things repeatedly, long enough for compounding to work. When I was young, my mentor used to tell me, "Don't underestimate the power of little things done daily." He compared it to planting seeds. If you plant a seed today, you don't come back tomorrow and say, "Where's my tree?" You water it, you nurture it, you repeat the process day after day. And then, seemingly all at once, years later, you're sitting under the shade of a tree you hardly remember planting. Wealth works the same way. It is built in silence, in routine, in discipline, in repetition. That's why systems matter, because we're all human. Motivation fades, willpower gets weak, but when you automate, when you schedule, when you build habits into your daily rhythm, you don't need motivation. The system does the heavy lifting. If you automate your savings, the money is gone before you can spend it. If you schedule your investments, say the first of every month, it happens without debate. And over time, repetition creates results so large they almost seem magical. Think about exercise. If you go to the gym once, nothing changes. Twice, maybe you're sore, but no results. Money works the same way. Saving once won't change your life. Investing once won't make you wealthy. But do it every week, every month, every year, and 10 years later, your life will be unrecognizable. The repetition shapes not only your bank account, but your character. The practical side is very simple, but it requires commitment. Automate your savings so you never touch it. Schedule your investments on the same day every month, regardless of how you feel or what the market is doing. Create a daily wealth-building routine. Maybe it's reading for 20 minutes, tracking your spending, or writing in your financial journal. It doesn't need to be complicated, it just needs to be consistent, because consistency beats intensity every time. Repetition creates mastery, and mastery creates wealth. So don't look for the one big break. Don't wait for the lucky moment. Instead, fall in love with the routine. Fall in love with showing up daily, planting seeds, making deposits, investing steadily. Because one day, years from now, you'll wake up surrounded by abundance, and it will look like magic to others. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't magic. It was repetition. If you really want to multiply wealth, don't just think about what you can take. Think about what you can give. Because here's the truth. Contribution is the highest form of wealth building. It may sound paradoxical. The world tells us to hold tightly, to cling to every dollar, to keep our hands closed so nothing slips out. But the irony is, when your hands are closed, nothing can come in either. Giving opens the flow of abundance. It signals that you trust in the cycle of life, that there will always be more coming if you keep adding value to others. I remember a season in my life when I was holding on too tightly. I was young, I was ambitious, and I thought if I kept everything for myself, I'd get ahead faster. But all it did was make me anxious, fearful, and stingy with opportunities. My mentor told me, you'll never have enough until you learn to give some of it away. That didn't make sense to me at first. How could subtraction add up to multiplication? But when I tried it, when I started giving not just money, but time, attention, and help, I saw a strange thing happen. Doors began to open, relationships deepened, and opportunities I never imagined began to flow my way. That's when I realized that contribution is not loss, it's leverage. Think of it like planting. If you eat every seed you have, that's the end of your harvest. But if you give some of it back to the soil, you create a cycle that produces more than you could ever consume. Contribution is the seed you plant in others that eventually comes back multiplied. You may not know when, or how, or from whom, but it comes. And the beautiful part is, wealth is not only measured in bank accounts, the joy, fulfillment, and goodwill you earn through giving are riches no one can take away. Now, contribution doesn't always have to mean writing a big check. Some of the most powerful contributions you can make are with your time and your wisdom. Mentoring someone, sharing your mistakes so they don't repeat them, Encouraging someone who is discouraged, that's contribution. It multiplies wealth because it multiplies capacity. When you help another person grow, you expand the circle of prosperity, and in that bigger circle, you too benefit. Of course, money is a powerful way to contribute as well. I believe everyone should develop the habit of giving away 5 to 10% of their income. Not because others need it more, but because you need the discipline of generosity. It trains you to detach your identity from your possessions. It breaks the hold of greed, and it proves that you are a steward, not a slave, to your money. When you give away part of what you earn, you tell yourself, I control money. Money does not control me. And don't underestimate the power of solving other people's problems. Business itself is contribution. The entrepreneur who creates jobs, the author who writes words that inspire, the doctor who saves lives, they're all contributors. The more problems you solve, the more wealth flows toward you. Contribution and value are tied together in a way that cannot be broken. So give. Give without keeping score. Give without expecting immediate return. Because the return always comes, often from places you least expect. And when it does, it will not only fill your bank account, but also enrich your soul. The secret to living is giving, and the more you pour into others, the more life and wealth will pour back into you. Let me share something I've learned through years of navigating both success and failure. The single most dangerous thing to your wealth is emotion. Every day, we are faced with decisions, some small, some monumental. And most people react. They react to fear, to desire, to envy, or to a sudden temptation. But reaction is the enemy of wealth. Impulse may feel exciting in the moment, but it erodes what you have painstakingly built over years. I've seen good people lose fortunes because they followed the sway of their emotions instead of the guidance of a clear principle. The lesson is simple. Wealth is preserved and multiplied by decisions anchored in vision, not in feelings that fluctuate with every headline or passing fancy. I remember early in my career, I faced a tempting investment. The numbers looked promising, the sales pitch was slick, and my heart raced with excitement at the potential gain. But I had a principle I lived by. Never invest without a plan and predefined limits. I stepped back, reviewed my financial checklist, measured the risk against my vision for financial stability, and realized it didn't align. I walked away. At the time, it felt like I'd missed out, but months later, the investment collapsed. That decision not to follow my emotions saved me more than I could have imagined. Principles gave me a shield against short-term temptation and guided me toward long-term prosperity. Building wealth without rules is like trying to sail a ship in a storm without a rudder. The currents of society, the desires of others, the lure of instant gratification, these will push and pull you every day. But when you define your principles clearly, you create your own compass. Decide ahead of time how much you will spend on discretionary purchases, what types of investments you will make, and the level of risk you are willing to accept. Then, when the moment comes, your emotions become less important because you are acting from vision. You are following the roadmap you've carefully drawn, not the whims of a passing feeling. A practical habit I recommend is creating a personal financial checklist. Before spending on anything above a certain threshold, review it. Does this align with my long-term financial vision? Does it respect my principles of saving, investing, and contributing? Does it bring lasting value, or is it a fleeting pleasure? By asking these questions, you stop being a passenger of chance and become the captain of your wealth. Over time, principle-based decisions compound. They prevent losses, safeguard your capital, and give you the confidence to take calculated risks that truly align with your goals. Wealth built on emotion is fragile. Wealth built on vision is enduring. The key is simple. Don't let excitement, fear, or desire dictate your financial life. Define your principles, live by them consistently, and make every choice reflect the vision of the person you intend to become. Let me tell you something that too few people understand about debt. It is neither inherently good nor bad. Debt is simply a tool, and like any tool, its value depends entirely on how you use it. I've seen people enslaved by debt, struggling paycheck to paycheck, weighed down by interest payments, living in constant stress. I've also seen others use debt strategically, leveraging it to acquire assets that generate far more than the cost of the loan, accelerating their path to financial independence. The difference is in the mind, the plan, and the discipline. Debt without strategy is a chain. Debt with wisdom is a lever that multiplies your efforts.